Convo. Welcome back to Candid Conversations with Carmen. I'm your host, Carmen, and this is my side host,
Ashley.
And we're back with another amazing episode.
And we have our producer.
I was going to jump to him, but I was going to give him a full
I'm
introduction.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I just usurped. Go ahead.
You know, I always have wonderful, awesome, amazing. But with this season being what it is, I'm going to make an announcement. We're going to take it out with a bang. So season 7 is going to be our season of completion. The Candid Conversations podcast will be ending after this season. So we have 2 amazing acknowledgments. One is to our absolutely, we couldn't do it without him, does all the things, producer, T-nugget.
T-nugget.
Who we will refer to as T-nugget going forward, but it's obviously Troy. And kicking off this season, I actually did some planning early into the year. Troy and I met, we connected, and I said, what do we want to do for this season? We talked about it being the last season, and then we said, you know what? We should bring back some of our favorite guests, some people that we really enjoyed what they had to say, and I really feel like had a lot of valid points, information, really, really hard-hitting stuff that resonated with our audience. And I think everyone who listens will be very excited for this next guest, first guest, and everything we have to go in this season. But without further ado, the one, the only, Austin.
Hey.
Welcome back.
I'm not going to tell your last name because you need no introduction, just Austin.
Hey.
They know.
I appreciate it. It's a real honor being the first guest on the last season.
Yeah.
You hyped me up way too much now. I have a lot of expectations to go to, but I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
But I think when you came in last time, we had some good talking points. Yes. And I think people really were able to connect with you because you were really honest about where you were and how you were coming into your walk with God, where you were professionally, where you wanted to be professionally, where you wanted to be relationally, where you wanted your family life to be. And it was just like all encompassing things that people are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And so I think that right now we have the opportunity to, like Carmen said, catch up with you, find out some things, what's going on with you, and to really continue that conversation and to let people know where you are now.
Let's do it.
Yes. So, I mean, obviously, I don't have preset questions. Obviously, we know you've had some exciting things come up because we talked a little bit before. And so you're upgrading in life at this point. You got the weekend to get your, rest a little bit, but you have some exciting stuff in the pipeline from a career perspective.
Yeah.
So, tell us about that. So you're transitioning from one role to a whole new.
It's a whole new role. Something. Yeah. So I've been with Chick-fil-A for 5.5 years. So I started when I was 18, 23 now. So, that's all I really know. And then another job opportunity came to me in February, prayed about it. Yeah. And I accepted, and I'll start there Monday morning.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so what will you be doing now? Because you were in food services and customer service. I mean, Chick-fil-A is all the things. So
it does everything.
Everything you want to be.
So what will you be doing?
I'll be at People's Janitorial. I'll be a driver / I'll be in the warehouse working. A couple people from our church actually work there and own the company. So they brought it to me, offering me that. So, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, and that's a testament to you as well. Because, if people see your character and they're like, I want to work with you.
100%.
It's like, okay,
That's why I feel like it's a little bit of on my shoulders, because I want to produce. I want to show that they made the right decision to bring me on. Like I said, this is completely different for me compared to what I'm used to. But, we'll talk more about it later. But I want to get uncomfortable. That was my goal this year. And, this is something God's brought to me.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask you, like, that's a major shift. Like for me, like I know for me in my career, I was literally talking to Ashley today, and I've essentially stayed in the same realm of like I went to school for what I do. I've been working in that for the last 10 years or so. So I'm like, I know this job setting a little bit. So, and I told her I would be willing to kind of get a little bit of a change out there, but to do something like that and be so willing to like switch it up. I mean, I know we could circle back to something else, but like, what was a major catalyst, especially even if it's just specific to your career, like where you just kind of like, I'm over this, or I want to be challenged?
Well, it was more like the people, like, obviously money, money can do things, but
yes.
I never want to make a decision off of money. That's not who I am or anything.
Yeah.
It was more off of the boss. He came to me and said, hey, I've been praying about this for 2 years. Yeah. He's like, I was going to ask you last year, but it wasn't the right time or place. And then, so I asked you this year. That really meant something to me, that they want me there and they treat me like family. It's a small company, small family-based company.
Yes.
So that meant a lot to me, knowing that they want me there.
Yeah.
So that was my overall decision. And I felt like God was leading me in that way every time.
So when you make a major decision like that, to change anything, how did you go about making the transition and then being confident that it was the right choice? Like, okay, this is God. Like, he's prayed about it. And somebody can tell you, I prayed and I went for the throne. And you're like, God didn't tell me what he told you. So how did you get to the place where you had that confirmation to say, the Lord is leading me to transition from what I've known for the last 5 years, something totally different?
Yeah, well, like I said, I prayed tremendously for it.
Yeah.
Really, I didn't pray for the job. I just prayed for God to show me like a sign that I should take it.
Yeah.
Or, I should stay, and then talk to my family about it. Talk to my old bosses at my old job about it.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest thing I felt like, laying out the pros and cons of everything, I just felt like it was more pros leaning towards this way.
Yeah.
I had a lot more room to grow and develop at this new job.
Yes.
To where I feel like I can be there. Now, do I know if I'll be there my rest of my life? I don't know. But I kept feeling like this is where God has me going.
Yes.
And the biggest one for me is my dad who worked at me with Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
He was always like, just stay at Chick-fil-A, stay at Chick-fil-A, stay at Chick-fil-A. He was wanting, once he found out about the company, he was wanting me to go. And so that was a big driver for me. I was like, parents' approval, that's all I was like, God and my parents' approval, that's all I really wanted. So
yes, well, that was good. That wise counseling, having support and people 100%. To follow through. And you mentioned your parents. I know. How have they been? Because I know the last time we talked, you were saying that they were like your dad was starting to work with you and all of that.
They've been good. Recently in my family, back in February, I lost my grandmother.
Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry.
So yeah, it's all right. I lost my grandmother, and that was a real challenging time for our family.
Yeah.
For me, that's my first real loved one I've lost.
Yeah.
So, and that was my dad's mom. But recently, my parents just joined at Glen Haven. So that was,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's like a 4-year prayer for me. So for them to join, for them to get plugged into a life group class, it's just like one of the biggest blessings to me.
That's amazing.
And then my twin brother's starting to go to church with our friends. It's to a different church, but I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah. I think that's the thing is like a lot of times people get caught up in, are they coming to my church? I want you. But really it's about if they're teaching the word and they're learning about God and they're doing
I don't care.
It's like, come on, get in there and do that. And I know that was one of the things that we talked about last time was that you were like, I really want my family to be walking with God. And
it feels more complete now at church. They still don't want to sit with me because, I still sit, somewhat front row.
Yeah.
But they've started to make their own friends.
Yeah.
It was funny. So a couple weeks ago when they went to life group class, I had to show them where it was and I dropped them off. It felt like first day of school, just roles reversed. But it feels great seeing them grow. This past year, it's like I said, it's been more of a challenging year for us. We're in the process of moving or trying to move.
Okay.
So, and then, losing my grandmother.
Yeah.
So it's been hard, but seeing God just always have our back. And that's one thing I always tell my parents is through the hard times, we just rely on God, and He'll be there for you.
Man.
In the episode there.
But I mean, that is so true. And I think sometimes like you said, it's in the hard times that God sometimes pulls us. Oh, yeah. Like, you would think that when it's the good times is when you would be really thanking God and happy and everything. But I think that's sometimes where we forget. I don't want to say forget, but it's easy to just rest in God.
Yeah, I think you can get comfortable.
Yes. And then, but when the need is the driving need to say, God, I really need you to be able to carry me to the next thing, to help me to get through the day, to help me to walk it out, because it's not looking good. Or even that I'm in this season of transition and I need to know what decisions that I need to make and how to make those, and not for it to be overshadowed by my own personal wants and things, but let it be in your will. And like, I think that was one of the things that stood out to me when you were talking about moving into your new job. And then even with the prayer for your parents, like that probably was such a hard time for you to be 4 years where you're like, God, I don't see it, but I'm believing.
A lot of doubt, a lot of like there would be times where I'm doubted, like I'm doubting God, but He always brings me back.
And so in those moments of doubt, like I think for people who are in the process now of waiting on loved ones that they want to come to Christ, or they want them to or who want their family members to build a stronger relationship with God, what are some of the things that you would think that would be key to be able to walk that out?
Honestly, it's gonna sound real cheesy, but faith. Like, it's so easy to get distracted, but if you stay focused on the end goal, like for me, my end goal when I joined, my church, Glen Haven, was I wanted my parents there, I wanted my family there, because I wanted us to be whole again at a church. So, through the hard times, through the struggles, I just had to stay focused on that and always put that in one of my prayers. If you always stay focused on the goal, the devil will try to throw you off, but God will always pull you back.
Yeah, that's
spot on.
And I know this might be a hard segue.
Just come on, bring it.
You like swerve. But no, because last time we were talking about it, you were talking about how you wanted to be in a relationship. You were talking about how you had previous relationships, but they weren't godly or whatever, and you were really wanting to be in a godly relationship. So where are you now? Like, are you in a relationship?
I'm not.
Okay.
But I was at the kind of end of last year, from like September to February, I was in one. It was a good relationship, no complaints or anything like that. It's just, she told me that she felt like God was telling her I wasn't the one, and so we just kind of broke things off. And so, it happens. But I've kind of, pulled back now, and I'm thinking me transitioning into this new job to where I have regular hours.
More consistency.
Yeah, more consistency. It'll open up a whole new things for me. So, I'm still praying that, I'll find that one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes, God allows us to go through different things and build relationships and things that grow us. In that point of time where you were in a relationship, and even now, do you think that relationship was different from past relationships?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Because it was centered around God. Okay. She came to church. I went to her church. The other ones, like I said, weren't centered around God at all. This one was fully centered around God. And every decision we made for the relationship, we went to God first. So, yeah, 100%.
Wow. That's good. How do you... the questions. Okay. How do you process when you have done everything to honor God in your relationship and you have had him at the forefront, you sought him in every area, and you're making the conscious decision to honor him with that relationship, and then it ends, how do you maintain a heart posture that isn't resentful, either towards God or to the other person or the situation?
Yeah, no, it's a great question because I went through that.
Yeah.
After the my relationship. I was wanting, to pursue someone, and I felt like, all the cards were lining up and everything, and I felt like this was when I was the strongest in my relationship with God because, it had been like a month and a half after my grandmother had passed, and I felt like I was the strongest I was, and then, things just didn't work out, and I was really just I was at a low because that was something you pray for and you think it's going to work out because everything's starting to line up, and God throws you a curveball and it just isn't that. So, part of me, I was angry at him because I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I wasn't mad at God. I was mad because I didn't understand why he was doing it. But I know now that it just wasn't either the right timing, wasn't meant to be.
Right.
It's one of those. I know that when timing comes, he'll bring me the right person.
I mean, that's wonderful. And the thing that you said is really that timing, is that you did have to process it. Like, thank God you did me wrong. Like, not that he did you wrong, but sometimes it can feel like that.
Yeah, especially if it's the thing that you wanted, and it's like it's coming, like it's here. I'm enjoying my time.
Yeah.
I like the person. We're vibing. We're doing the thing,
Exactly.
and it's like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I don't want people to think I didn't get sad about it. I was upset for weeks about it. I think me and Troy talked about this over dinner a couple times where I was just like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Where I was, I kind of, not gonna say I stopped praying, but I wasn't praying as hard. Yeah, so I want to get that out there. Like, I wasn't not perfect. I went through a period of time where I was like, God, I don't want to talk to you right now because I'm just mad at you. He's our father, and sometimes we get mad at our dads and we don't talk to him. So I didn't want to talk to him for a little bit.
Yeah.
So how did you? At what point did you kind of get reeled back in? To be like, because I get like when you're processing something and it's like, because really it's disappointment, but it's also almost like a betrayal in a sense because I did the things. Like I did what you said. I followed you the way that you would have had me to, carry this thing out. How do you kind of, at what point when you were like, okay, I had to take a minute. I had to say, you know what, I'm hurt. I'm processing this. Like it is really doing something. Like, and then you were able to say,
when did it snap back?
Probably because my day to day, I wasn't feeling right. My cousin who looks up to me a lot, he came to me like, he's like, you just been out of here for like a couple of weeks. He was like, and he's 18, he just graduated high school, and like he looks up to me a lot. So I take a lot of pride in that. But he just told me, he's like, you're not yourself. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I was like, I don't feel right because I haven't been in the Word like I should be. Because when you're in the Word, it can be convicting, but it can also be really refreshing.
yeah,
So I haven't been doing that. I haven't been praying like I should be. I'm still going to church, going to Bible study, everything, but I felt like I was just there. And I hated feeling like that. So I felt like I needed to just revamp and just get back into the Word.
And I know we talked about it, but I think it's also a place of almost like grief. Like you were grieving the loss of a relationship. Do you feel like you went through the process of grief during that? And like do you think you're still feeling those feelings now, or are you completely over it now?
I'm not going to say I'm completely over it now. I definitely think that it's on the back front. I still have moments where I'm just like, what if, this would have worked out, kind of thing.
Those what if moments, yeah.
So I'm just like, because what you're saying is so true. Like it's for real. Like, you know what I mean? Like people, a lot of times it's almost as if, oh, you didn't feel what you are saying you failed or you didn't process it, but like, when do you ever really get out of grief? Like, it doesn't mean that doesn't make you sad anymore. Oops, for T-nugget. No, I'm not that it doesn't make you, like, it maybe doesn't elicit the same emotional response, but it always has potentially a lasting impact.
Yeah.
So how, like, you get what I'm saying? So once you're getting, when does it transition from grief to a lesson that was learned or a past experience? Because I mean, you spoke about grief when we talked about the episode that you talked about grief. Was it 2 seasons ago as the season premiere?
Yeah.
You talked about that, and and again, things can hit you in waves, so you don't maybe always feel like you're like, man, I'm sitting here by myself at this thing, and I wish I had somebody with me, or and it kind of strikes that nerve. I don't know if that's if you get past it or for something like that, because it's a grief of a relationship, but at the same time, maybe the same weight is not on a relationship like that in the long term. Do you think that has that same impact of it being a full grief, or is it like a less heavy grief because you can actually get fully past it?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I definitely think there's different seasons of grief.
Yeah.
You know, losing a loved one and then or something like this is completely different.
They're different types of grief.
But I feel like I've gone through a lot of grief in 2024.
Yeah.
So like I said, losing my grandmother, that was the hardest one for me because she was not doing well.
Yeah.
For probably the last 5 or 6 years. She's battled cancer 3 times, and she had it a 4th time. She never ate any solid food since '05. So, like I said, she's the strongest woman I ever knew.
Yeah.
But for me, that will always probably stay with me.
Yeah.
Because we moved her to a nursing home in December. I just didn't really want to go see her a lot.
Yes.
Because I didn't recognize her. I saw her in January. And I just didn't recognize her.
Yeah.
It was one of the hardest things I think I had to realize. And then when she passed, I felt a responsibility for me.
Yeah.
Because my whole dad's side of the family is non-believers. Besides me, my family, my brothers, they're just non-believers. So during that whole process, I wasn't grieving because I was having to be that rock that held us all together. And that was hard for me. That was one of the hardest moments of my life.
Yeah.
I still went to work every day, even after it. I didn't take any time off. And I dealt with it until her funeral.
Yeah.
And then, that's when it all just came out.
Yeah.
But because I felt, like I said, I felt that responsibility of having to be the rock for my family. Because my grandfather was upset. He was like, I don't understand. And I just kept telling him, I was like, God has a plan. I was like, she's not hurting anymore.
Yes.
And that's something that it was hard for them to understand.
Right.
But I think now I'm glad that I was able to be that rock for them.
Right.
And try to shine that light, even though I didn't get to grief like I probably should have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now, have you taken the time for yourself to kind of feel those feelings?
Yeah, like I said, the day of her funeral, she I went to see her, and her and I had a moment and everything.
Yeah.
But still, now when I go in the house, I don't let anybody sit in her chair.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
But I'll just have moments where I'll drive down the road and just tears start coming out.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, I'm not gonna say I missed opportunities, but I did, because I could have went to go see her, but I didn't want to remember her like that. I wanted to remember her when I was a little kid, and
Right.
stuff like that. I didn't want to remember her sitting in the bed, barely able to talk to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I still have grief on those moments. Her birthday's coming up soon, so I still think about it a lot. But yeah.
I can attest to that. I know, just based off of what I was talking about when my grandma passed, and now I was telling my mom just recently, even thinking about other people that I've lost in recent years, you have those moments of like, oh, I wonder what they are up to, and then it hits you.
Yeah.
Oh snap! They're not here anymore for me to be able to to communicate with them. But I think what has been really a thing for me in this time. And then there have been some other things that have happened where it wasn't my family, but I've been walking with people who have been in grief this year.
Yeah.
And it touched my life. And in those moments, what God has been showing me is that even in the grief, you have to feel the feelings.
Yeah.
And it's okay to cry. It's okay to let people know I'm sad at this moment. I don't know why, but I feel the feelings. Like I was literally sitting with my friends. I went on a vacation and we were at brunch, and I'm just sitting there, and then
it just comes out. Like
I saw this girl with this little girl with her grandmother on the boat, and they were having such a wonderful time, and I was just like, that's so beautiful that she got to come on this trip with her grandmother. And I was like, I'm feeling the feelings. I told my friends, I said, if y'all see me crying over here, just know I'm in my feelings. I said, I'm sad, but it's not like it's a joyous sad, because I'm like, this young girl has the memories. And I think that's the thing, is that even when you're grieving, you still have the memories. So like you were saying, I want to remember her from like when I was young, and all those different things. You can bring back those fun times and laugh and all those different things. And yes, you think about the times when they're gone, but then you move into like the joy of having known them. And I think that's the same thing in relational issues when you're grieving. Is that you've gone through this time, you had the good times, you've broken up, or you're not in that relationship anymore, or you don't have those friends anymore, or whatever it may be, and y'all moved on or whatever. It's in the moment, it's like, man, I really wish we could have had what we still used to have. But then it's also, you know what, we had really good times. You know, I remember we used to go to the park, or we went to that one event, and it was just like, we had such a great time, and you can laugh with yourself about those memories. But then you don't get stuck there. You move on, and then go to being like, okay, yes, that happened. Yes, that was a good point in my life. Yes, you know, it's sad that they're not in my life anymore. But now I'm moving into the next of building the new me, or building up where God has me to be, and to walk out what that looks like, and continuing to live life. I think you don't want to get stuck in any point of grief. The point is not to get stuck, because it's so easy to get there, and you can get caught in the what ifs and the hows and the whys and all that kind of stuff. But being able to move forward, and like, we're seeing that you're like, I'm jumping into the new job. I'm open to new opportunities. I'm looking forward towards the future. I think that's the thing. And I mean, I know last time you were here, you had made some transitions as well, because you had bought your new truck and everything like that. And you were excited about those. So those are life experiences. Like, I mean, how's the truck?
Still here. I'm front right there. Haven't crashed it.
You won't. We'll pray over that. We're praying over that. But like, are you enjoying it, like, for real?
Yeah,
like,
I'm enjoying it for real. I'm gonna enjoy it once it's paid off. But I'm enjoying it. Everyone's like, it's clean, it's nice. Look, it's mine. You know, I worked hard to, save up for it. So when I bought it, I wanted to take care of it.
Yes. I mean, that's so good. I think what you have been saying and what you've said, like, throughout the episode so far, is really that, like, the transitions of life. Like, I've just been seeing that, like, consistently. I'm like, you're like, your new boss is like, I've been praying on this thing for 2 years. And then he comes to you. He's like, I was going to talk to you about it last year, but I didn't have the release to do that. And then February of this year, last year, or was it April?
It was February of this year. He brought it to me.
February of this year, he brought it to you, and then
in February you got out your relationship.
Got out of a relationship. Lost my grandmother, and then got the new opportunity. So it's just like, I feel like in 2024, I have gone through
a
all
whole life.
a whole life, and it's only been half a year.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. I feel like I've been through everything,
Yeah.
you know, so far, good and bad, through this year already.
Yeah. But even in that, it's like lives. Like
Yeah.
all of the things that you're saying, like you've been going through some things. Like it's not just,
Little things here and there.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's some little things in there too, but it's like these are major life happenings that are occurring, and God is still faithfully sustaining you through that.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're also processing it in a way that I think the people who are listening can really benefit from, because you're like, I know with your grandmother, you knew that you were like, okay, I'm going to stand strong and be, an example
Yeah.
for my family so that they can see Christ through the way that I'm handling this. And then you say, hey, I'm also a person and I've got to process this for myself.
Yeah.
And so it's like there's a balance that you have to kind of find. And so you're working out that balance throughout. I mean, like I said, that's a lot of change in a short period of time. And the way that you've been able to maintain, manage it, handle it, process it actually, and not just be like, well, I push that under the rug. I'll deal with it, in a month or two. It's like, no, I'm processing this. I think that that's a beautiful thing for you to be able to do. And it's an example for, again, like I said, anybody who's going through things like I said, life is real. Like it's real. Like that's the most simple way to put it.
Life has so many different ups and downs, and people think it's gonna be such a smooth year. It's like I said, when I got into January, I'm like, this is gonna be a great year.
Right.
Potential long relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Like,
I was like, I'll be with Chick-fil-A still.
yes.
It's just like I said, life is ups and downs, this and that. But I would have never changed a single moment, because that has made me who I am today, and I'm so grateful for the ups and downs God's put me through.
Yeah.
But I think that's
amazing.
That's key. I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
for anything, we have to be open to knowing that we, as Christians, may suffer, or we will suffer. That's what Jesus said. We will suffer. But as he suffered, he has given us a way out through his blood.
Yeah. And I always feel like the misconception is like people want to avoid suffering. Like
Yeah.
I know, shoot, queen of it. I'm trying, I'm like, how can I get out of this? This is hard. So I get it. But I'm like, I think the misconception for people is that because the word says, you'll suffer like Christ suffered, is that if you are in the world and you're just living a world life, that gets you scot-free from the suffering.
Yeah.
Like the misconception is like, if you get into Christ, you're going to suffer, and you're going to suffer either way.
Yeah.
There's just one is for you, like a reason.
Yeah.
And the other one is you're just struggling to make it through. One is you're doing it alone. And the other is when this weight in life gets too heavy for me, Lord, take this weight off me, and he'll do that for you.
I can cast my cares onto him.
Yeah, I can cast my cares onto him. So I feel like it's so good that you said, like, when you had to take that minute when you were like, I'm hurt because the Lord, God didn't meet my expectation. Like, he didn't meet my expectation. Now, we already know he can do exceedingly abundantly more than we could ask or think. So we already know that relationship was not exceedingly above your expectations. So what's to come will be so much better.
Yeah, so much more.
So much better. But it's like when you go through those things, it's like you said, you're so much better for it. You're like, if I hadn't had this year, if I hadn't had these last couple of years, if I hadn't have had to intercede for my family for 4 years, I want my parents to be at the church, and I'm seeing the fruit of that now, and being able to really, truly see the Lord's hand at work in your life and acknowledge it is a beautiful thing. Because I'm just like blown away, because I'm like, I know somebody listening is going to be like so blessed by that.
I know at the gym, there's a message that they have written on the wall at my gym, and I was reading it yesterday, and I've seen it many times, but I was just looking at it, and it really it kind of gave me a little boost. But it was like, if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. And so a lot of times we want things that are easy and like you were saying, no suffering. But if there is no challenge to it, what makes you better? There's nothing to make you better. But if I can work through the challenge and I can push through and persevere, on the other end of that, I'm changed. There's some type of transformation that has occurred. And I think that is where I am right now, is that in where I am in life. And I think just all of us this year, we've been challenged and we're getting to that place where we're seeing the change. But one thing about this life is that you're going to be continually challenged. You can't stop. You have to keep going and pushing to make sure that at the end there's a complete transformation into who God wants you to be.
And that kind of ties in my year goal. I never do year goals or anything, but I was like, my goal for this year is I want to get uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable, I feel like you grow closer to God, and because I don't like to stay content at all. If you uncomfortable, you're growing this and that. So I wanted to get uncomfortable being comfortable. So I feel like that's really how this year's been for me. It's one thing after another, good or bad, but I've been getting uncomfortable, and that's helped me grow in my walk with God this year.
Yeah. That's really good. So I know Troy mentioned, because he gives us a couple points here and there, that you were, I don't know, speaking endeavors. You're looking into doing some. You're open to them.
I'm open to them. I would love to do speaking endeavors. I feel like I could really, either motivational speaking or just speaking in general to people. I feel like I would really, help people in general. That's really just my ultimate goal. That's what my goal was at Chick-fil-A is, if I can just hit one person, help them out. If I work with them or if they're guests, I'm going to take that and I'll take it to my new job.
Right.
So, yeah.
So that's where you want to be. Is you want to be able to pour into others.
Yeah, no. I think that's what God has. I've never been able to figure out what my specialty was. Some people can sing, some people can dance. I feel like for me, I can pour into others than, before. So I'm really glad that all this stuff has happened now, because if it would happen a year or 2 years ago, I wouldn't be strong enough to handle it.
Yeah. So when you're pouring, because we had, I think Sydney Parsons was on, and she talked about how she also is a person who pours into other people, and so she is like very similar to you. Her grandfather had actually passed away, and she was like, I really have to be the rock for my mom, my dad, and really just be stable. When the world is going crazy, she was like, the Lord has put me in a place where I can't hold my family down in that way. How do you maintain your filled cup when you're consistently pouring into others?
That's a really good one, because I've gotten to that point at times this year where I feel like I'm empty. I feel like where I've given everything I've had to people, and I feel like I don't have anything else to give myself.
Yeah.
To where I feel like I'm mentally just overwhelmed, or because that's how I feel like this year. I feel like this year I have completely just gone out of my way to be more pouring into people, really listening. At times, I may not say anything because I can talk. I could talk to a brick wall if I could. But I'll listen more this year, and I feel like at times I just had to take time for myself. That means off of social media for a weekend, or just not talk to anyone really.
Yeah.
Just because I needed to revamp myself.
To recharge.
Yeah, recharge.
Yeah.
I can attest to that.
You had to do something.
I took a whole weekend and I didn't do anything. I just stayed in the bed, and that's different. Like, you can be standing, but I did nothing. And then on Sunday I got up and went out and got something to eat, but then I was back in my bed.
Oh. I was like that.
And I took a bit. I took a break. I was so tired. I just was like, I can't. Just all the things that I had been doing. I don't know that this year I have poured into people that much. I feel like this year there were moments, but I was really just trying to claw my way into, I don't know, normality. Like the first half of the year, I thought I was kind of, but really just get into a place of normality. I think that was where I have been. And I was still trying to give to other people as well during that time, but I don't think I was pouring out as much as I normally was, and my level of compassion for people
was waning or was heightened.
Was heightened in some ways, and then I was finding myself lacking grace in other areas.
Okay,
but for the most part, I was just tired. It was like, and it was a state of perpetual tiredness, like not being able. And then but what I've been finding, like Austin is saying, is finding those moments to take, as I've taken time to just take a step back and to rest and really understand what rest is. I've been able to give a little bit more, and to be, I feel, a little bit more helpful, to be a little bit more compassionate, to be able to pour out in such a way. But I also feel like it was also teaching me the boundaries of the poor.
Okay.
And
boundaries to what you're putting into others.
Yes, because I think a lot of times what I've been realizing is that people will take and take and take and take and take much as you will give them, and they won't stop, and they'll drain you. Yeah. And you're like, and of course we have to trust in the Lord, because he's supposed to be our source to be able to, and like Austin was saying, like when he was going through his relationship and he just was not praying, he was not reading his word. I went through a moment of that kind of waning where I wasn't praying as much. I wasn't reading my word as much, and I wasn't myself. Like, I don't know if y'all realized it or saw it, but I wasn't myself as much as I was before, and I wasn't fasting and all that kind of stuff. I had just was like, I'm just over it. And why are you laughing?
When you said you weren't fasting, I was like, I know, because fasting is good.
Yeah.
You know, when the Lord lays it on your heart, he leads you to do a fast. It's for a reason. It's for a purpose. Yeah. Be led by the Lord if you're going to participate in the fast. But I just chuckled a little because you stayed on a fast. I was like, my goodness, she's on another fast. Okay. So when you said I haven't been fasting, I was like, I know.
But that was something else, because it was like the discipline of fasting.
Yes.
Was so hard to stay on a fast. Yeah. And so like, but I think that was a good thing, because I kind of feel like I had gotten into a prideful mentality of fasting.
I can
do this
from food.
I'm good at the fast. Like, it was hard, but I'm good at fasting. Like, I can fast. Like,
I'm good at fasting. Oh my God. That's so bad.
No, I'm serious, because like a 7-day fast, okay, 14-day fast, okay. I'm here, Lord. I'm at your feet, but then you start looking at the word. But then if you look at the Bible, he was like, you've been fasting, but you've been doing all the things that you wanted to do while you were doing this fast. Yeah. Is this the fast that I've called? So I had to really start being in a place where I was like, am I fasting because of what God is telling me to do, or am I just fasting because I think I'm supposed to be fasting? And then in my mind, I'm still on Facebook, I'm still on all the things I'm doing, watching TV and all that kind of stuff. Well, not this year, but all the things. And it was like, no, I have to get back to a place where it's the reverence of God when I'm doing these things, where I am abstaining from things that bring pleasure. That's what fasting is. It's abstaining from food, but all things that bring pleasure, like worldly pleasures, because the thing is, my mind is supposed to be on God and God alone. And so that was another thing. So like the fasting thing, I was off of that, and I was just really in a place of just like, I don't know which way to where I'm going in this thing. And so, and it was really because I think I had gotten to a place of where I had been pouring out to everybody, and I was like, when is I'm going to be poured into? When is
Well, yeah, when's it my turn to finally get some of this? Like, I'm tired of giving it all away and me not getting nothing back. That I felt that way sometimes at my old job where I feel like I was going, doing everything I could, and nothing is. I'm not getting that promotion, not getting that raise.
Yeah.
So I'm just, so on and so on. So understand what you're saying is because you can only give so much. We're not God. We can't give everything and just and continue to just give. We can't do that. We can give, and put a fake smile on our face. I've done that.
Yeah.
But at some point, we're gonna reach our breaking point, and then that's when we just have to go back to God.
Yep, and that was where it was. Where I was like, you know what, God, I really, where I am. And I think that was to being in a place of just being honest and being like, God, you know where I am, you know how I feel. And now let me walk this thing out. And I think in honesty, like, I think you have to get into a place where you're really honest with God. Like, God, I don't know why I'm not feeling like this, but I'm just not feeling you right now. But I still want you to help me to get to the place where I feel like I want to be around you again.
Yeah.
Like, and then you also have to look at what are, like he was saying, the distractions that are around that are keeping me from wanting to be there.
So how to you both, because you both are pourers here.
Are you not a pourer?
I don't know, am I? I think I wouldn't necessarily be able to say that. I think other people would have to tell me if they feel like I poured into them, not me saying that I pour. Because I feel like a lot of people say they're pourers and they're not. Like, I've known people who are like, I'm always giving, and I'm all, oh my gosh, and then you're like,
no, you're not.
I've never received anything, So
do you think I'm a pourer?
Yes.
Or do you think I've just
I think you are, but I think you've been in a transitionary period in your life. And so you're reassessing the why behind your actions. So I think that's a little bit different. Okay. And I think that ties into what my next question was going to be, geared to both of you, but really to Austin, because you said you have done in the past, like the fake smile, but I'm still giving. How do you check your heart when your nature is truly to give? And you are innately more of a person who is like, okay, people have a need. I see a need. I feel a need. But maybe my heart's not in it. That's what I naturally do. But how do you check that so that when you are defaulting to your natural way, you're defaulting to your natural way, but it's not necessarily, your heart posture is not in the right place. How do you get to a place where it's not a fake smile anymore? And how do you balance it? How do you keep yourself in check so your heart is in the right place when you're doing those things?
You want to go first? Or you want me? I'm thinking. So, I think that goes back to like having to recharge. Yeah. So, like, if you're getting to that point where you have that fake smile and you're giving because it's what you've done, and you're doing that you're doing just for the motions. At that point, you're not doing it because it's in your heart.
Yeah.
Sometimes people can give because they want to get stuff back.
Yeah.
When you give, you should give it out of the grace of your heart.
Yeah.
So when I've gotten to that point, that's kind of when I'll stop giving. Because if I realize I'm not doing it out of the grace of my heart, I'm doing it, just to please people because I am a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Then, I'll just have to like kind of take a step back for a minute and, sometimes, those people may struggle that I want to help, but I can't help them if I need help, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I have literally had the thought, I just can't be upbeat today. Like, you go in, everybody expects you to be that person.
Yeah.
Like, you're in there, you're getting it. Oh, you're always,
Yeah.
And I have really had to come to the realization that no, you're gonna see this.
And it's crazy that you say that. And I want to ask you something else that you said, but I want to talk to this point too. It's crazy that you say that because last night I was just thinking about you, and I was like, and I was like, I can tell that you're in a transitionary period. When you know somebody well, you're like, okay, like you said, your nephew, right? Your cousin was like, you aren't acting right. Like something's amiss. He knows your nature. So he's like, well, I don't know what it is, but I know something's different. And so when you have been in this like transitionary period where you're like, okay, I'm trying to figure out why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I said, oh my gosh, Ashley's really, she's changing. She's transforming. This is, a new season of her life. But then it kind of clicked to me and I was like, or has she been pretending forever? And the version of her that she's been, not that you are not being authentic in your efforts, but you were putting on to be the person who was excited. You were the one who wanted to be engaged in the conversation. You were the one that wanted to help out around, if something needed to be done, you were jumping up to do it. And I was like, has she been faking all this time? And now she's just realizing that it's not that you were being inauthentic. It was a true effort, but it was maybe not what you wanted to do. And you were just,
it was not always, I felt like, you know how when people talk about check on your strong friends?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily say that I'm just like, oh, I'm so strong.
Yeah.
But I feel like in a lot of areas, in a lot of places, people looked to me to be a certain type of way.
Yeah.
For them to be able to do the things that they wanted to be able to do. So if you are nervous, then I can't be nervous.
Yes.
So I have to be like, I got this.
Because like you have been really more honest, like I don't want to say honest, more vocal about, like you'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm really, and it was because you had said, it was because you said something had made you scared.
Yes.
And then we talked about your flight, and when you called me about your flight today.
Yeah.
And I thought, she never has been nervous about things before like this.
Yeah.
But then I thought, well, maybe she actually has been, and she just never said it. And so it's like you haven't even been able to actually vocalize your true emotions because you're trying to be strong for everybody else.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't showcase that I'm sad, or I can't showcase that I'm afraid or nervous or concerned or whatever. It's like I have to be the rock because everybody else is unstable.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, is that, I don't know if that's a misinterpretation of
no, it's not. It's like there's still some things that y'all just won't ever know.
Yes.
But I think it's also, I'm coming to the place where I'm like, I think when I said I'm going to acknowledge, I think the place when I came to say I want to acknowledge my feelings and let myself feel those things, but not stay in it. I think that has been a total shift on a lot of things, because there have been I was telling you, I always felt like I was in a fight or flight mode.
Yes.
Like I'm just tense all the time because I'm always, my head's on a swivel. I have to make sure that this is happening, that this is happening, that this is happening. And so now there are things that you get those quick moments of, that's nerve-wracking. I think you're right. I didn't allow myself to feel those things. Okay. Now I still may feel those things, but I might still, I feel them in myself.
Yeah.
I might probably don't tell y'all as much as the things that I do, but I think in the past I would just, so you'll be like, Ashley, are you okay? You have that look on your face. And so I was feeling the feeling then, but I wasn't never going to say it or to do it. But now I'm actually being like, oh, this is nerve-wracking. But I also think it's because, like he said, I'm in a place where uncomfortability is where I'm living. Like a lot of things that I'm doing make me uncomfortable. A lot of things that I'm doing are things I've never done before. Like I was good at it. I could do all these different things. I knew how to do those things. I was strong in those areas. People depended on me in these areas. I knew I could deliver in these areas. And now I'm being tested in areas that I'm not necessarily familiar with. I don't know if I'm going to be good at it. I may just fail at it, but I think the thing is right now is that in the past, I would have just been like, oh, I'm not going to give my all, or I'm not going to do it. And now it's like, I'm actually going to do it. So like, even take for instance, I'm just be really transparent. So when we were getting those trucks to go down to Albany.
Give some context.
So Carmen had a house in Albany that she was selling. And so in that house, we had stuff that we needed to move from that house. in the truck, in the moving truck. So we had gotten 2 different moving trucks. Well, both of those trucks were bigger than I had ever driven before. So the first one was bigger than I had ever driven before, and then like 2 days later, we got one that was even bigger, and I was driving both of them. But the first truck was newer, and so I kind of got my teeth wet, or my feet wet in that truck, because it had good views on it and everything. And even though I had never driven anything like that before, I was like, okay, I was a little okay. Yeah. But that second truck, I was a little scared. Like, I was really, really kind of scared in it, because it was manual. Like, in a lot of it wasn't a manual truck. It was still automatic, but the mirrors and stuff were,
you stuck your hand out to twist
you had to stick your hand out and move them. And I also think it was too, because Troy was with me before. Rachel was in there with me, and she was not going to be able, like, anything happened, she could not drive. My sister Rachel, it was a no. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I really felt like fear in my heart. And I was like, I said, I'm a little nervous here. I was like, okay, Lord, I'm a little nervous. But then I was like, you know what? You got to do it. So suck it up and let's go. And so you got in and pulled it on and maneuvered it around and to do everything. But it was also learning how to see, because I couldn't see. That's the crazy thing. Yeah. Like, you could see, but you couldn't see. And I think that's how life is with Christ, is like, you can see, but you can't see all the things. Yeah. So like, some things they say is closer than it appears, and then this other little mirror right here, they look like they right up on you, but then the other one is like super far back, and you're like, which mirror is the right one to do it? I just have to trust. And so that was a moment where, like, it was like real fear. Like, that was a real moment of, oh my gosh, I got to go down this road. I hope I don't hit anybody or take anybody, and don't hurt anybody. And I have to be cognizant of Rachel sitting in his car. So I have to be safe with her in here as well. Yeah. So I'm taking care of her as well. Yeah. And driving. She trusts me fully, because she gets in and goes to sleep. And so I'm like, that trust that she put into me, I need to be able to live up to that. And I think that's where I am now. I'm in a place where I'm uncomfortable. I'm having moments that are scary to me. But even in that fear, it's pushing past that to say that I can still do it. Yeah. So, and not in my own strength, but in God's power as well.
That sounds like me in that kayak. What I wanted to ask you was,
Carmen, you can't just leave.
Yes, I can. What I wanted to ask Austin was, you mentioned that in your giving, in your, sowing into other people, that you are also a people pleaser to a certain extent. How do you control that? Because I'll give a little backstory. Like, and my heart posture was wrong in a lot of giving, and I did a lot of things. He's a control freak. That's not, no. But no, I would do a lot of different things, and I would do things for people, and I would do them to the point where I was like, okay, I can keep going. If I don't do it, who's gonna do it? Yeah. That kind of thing. And it was like, my heart was not in the right place. But I was still giving. So you reap what you sow. So it was like, I was, you still get benefits out of it, but my heart wasn't right in what I was doing. And so
enjoying it. You weren't enjoying it.
Oh, absolutely not. So I was not. And so how do you balance that now? Because I know you say you recharge when you start feeling like your heart posture is maybe not right, or you're doing it from the wrong place. But how do you keep it in check when it's, maybe I'm being exploited, or maybe I'm doing this, I can do it and I don't mind doing it, but the reason why I'm doing it is not because I just have a heart for this, but because I don't want to disappoint, or I want to please those around me.
I want the accolades of people saying that you're doing a good job,
or all of those things.
Yeah, That's hard because I was being at Chick-fil-A because I didn't want to disappoint. I didn't want to disappoint my dad or people there that know me because I've been there a while.
Yeah.
So that's hard for when you want to give. Sometimes you give for the wrong reasons, just for the accolades, or sometimes you give because you really care. Sometimes for me, I'll have to look at it when I want to give. I have to realize, all right, am I just giving, because I feel like it's what God's telling me to do, or am I giving because I feel like I'm gonna get a boy out of that thing, or am I giving and that person's not gonna ask for again? Because I've had that before where I'll give, and a month later, hey, someone will text me again, same thing. So on and so on. So it's really you have to check and see which is the right way to give, right timing to give, kind of thing.
How do you do you check your giving? Like, because again, a big thing for me has been, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Exactly, yes.
And that's the same, like you've been having to assess that, like, why am I giving? Is it because I want to get the attaboy, or is it because have you been having to do that? Or is it like because some people innately are able to check themselves really well without having to go in a whole introspective mode. Are you that kind of person who's like, I know I'm doing this for this reason? Or do you have to kind of watch it and be like, wait a minute, I'm doing this because somebody's going to be happy with me, because I just...
I'll be transparent. Sometimes, I have to watch it.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes, I'll be like, am I going to get something out of this? Or, then I have to realize, wait, I'm not doing that for, I'm not, that's not, I'm not doing it for the right reason.
Right.
If I go help somebody like move or something like that, old me would have been like, am I going to get paid for this? Or,
Right.
Exactly. Now, I'm like, I'm just doing it, to help them, this and that. So, yeah, I have to check myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm human too. I'll make those mistakes where I want to give for the wrong reasons.
Yep.
What about you? Why were you giving?
I was a guilt-ridden person, and if something didn't go right because I didn't do what I thought I should have done, I would feel bad about it.
Yes.
So like sheer fear of it going a disaster because I didn't. And again, that's that control thing. Is like, if I don't do it and it doesn't get done and then it falls, everything could collapse, And obviously I'm being extreme, but that was what was motivating me a lot of the time. So it wasn't because I wanted to give. And that was with like me actually doing things for other people. If it was like giving things to people, for some things I do just give them away. Like I'm just like, I don't want to be, it's hard for a rich man to get to heaven. I don't want it to be hard for me. Like, I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I want to check myself in those kind of ways. So for that kind of stuff, it's just giving in that is not really hard to me, in some ways, just because I almost have like it's not mine kind of mentality. But when it comes to like doing things for other people, it's like, that's my energy. How am I going to get that back? That's my time. How am I going to get that back? Like, time is something you don't regain.
No.
Like, you can get money again. You can get things again. But like time, once it's gone, it's spent.
Yeah.
And so I would just be like, so I was doing things because it was definitely
guilt.
It was absolutely guilt.
For me, it was more so like, I think about it. I either didn't want people to mess up, like be like, I would cover people a lot. So sometimes my giving would be to cover, or didn't want to disappoint. That was a lot of things. I was like, people depend on me, and I had always been the person that I wanted to be a woman of my word. And so I was like, I don't want to be a disappointment to you, like, or I see that you're not feeling certain what type of way so I'm trying to gauge other people's emotions and try to fix it for them. So I'm giving my energy to fix whatever I feel. Maybe I don't even know for sure, but I think is what it is. And so I'm going to spend my energy to try to fix it for you,
Mm-hmm.
and give this to you so that you can have the best of whatever it is that you're having. And it wouldn't be taking away, like in the sense of, I wouldn't necessarily feel like I was lacking anything or losing anything, but I was really just like, I don't want you to be disappointed. If I don't come, if nobody shows up to your thing, then I don't want you to be disappointed. So I'll come. I'll give of my time for this. Or I know you don't have it. I know that this is something, so I'll give it. Not because I want anything in return, but I just don't want you to be lacking in any way.
Yeah.
And so that was where it is. And I think God has given me that heart to do those things.
Yeah.
But like you said, I'm coming to a place now of where I have to be honest in certain areas of why. The why behind why I'm doing it. Why am I giving? Like you said, Austin, am I going here because I think I'm gonna get, girl, you're always at the because that can become your driving force. You're always at everything. I know I can depend on you. That's the thing. And so then you get that high from that.
Yeah.
And then so next time you're going to something, you feel super drained, but you're like, I'm going to go to this thing. And so I had to be really cognizant of that. And then also just trying to be like, now I'm getting to the place where I don't be caring if they disappointed or not. I can't control your feelings. And so as I am getting to that place, and it's not out of a place of not wanting to still give, but it's to say, I have to love myself and love who God is making me to be.
Yeah.
And Carmen always is telling, work out your own salvation
with fear and trembling.
With fear and trembling, which is what the word says. And so that's where I am now. It's like, I can't be worried about you being disappointed in me. Mm-hmm. If God is disappointed in me, and if I live my whole life trying not to disappoint you, and then I get to heaven and he's like, depart from me, I never knew you, I'm going to be real hurt. So I would rather you be disappointed than God be disappointed. And so I think I'm getting to that place now. And so that's kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah, I think for me, when I was saying like wanting to do things and then out of guilt, like what the Lord has really been showing me, like, it's like you want to help people out. And so like you are like, okay, again, that see a need, feel a need mentality. But he has really kept me in check in a lot of ways as well, with kind of like, okay, so are you God or am I? Because if they always come to me to be their source of whatever, then they don't go to him. So I have to keep myself also in submission to him, because even in my giving, I can give wrong. Like, it can be the most generous thing ever, and it's selfless. I don't want anything in return. I don't want the accolades. I don't want anything. And God's like, do not give it, because I don't want them to have it from you. I want them to have it from me. And I think that's what he's been really working with me on. And that has been hard, because it's like, I don't want to be somebody's provider that they don't trust in you, but I got it. You need it. Here you go. And so I think that that's something is what I have had to, is like, Lord, even in my you have to submit your giving to him. Like, that's almost like it's a selfless thing. It's a godly thing. Like, he wants me to be a cheerful giver. He wants me to do those things, but it's like, I still have to be in every area of my life, even the good things, the things I think I'm doing right and the things I think are good. I still have to have those things in submission to him, because if I'm moving in a way that he doesn't want me to move, regardless of how it looks or seems to me, or according to the scripture that I've used to back up what I'm doing, if he's like, Carmen, you need to stop. Like, and that was hard for me. I was like, whoa,
yes.
Like,
and I think that's another thing for me, is that God has been not allowing me to do the things that I normally do. Because, some of the things that have been going on, there's just been some things in our family, like some things with my brother, my other brother, and God has, in the past, no matter what it was, I would be like, and God hasn't allowed me to do what I would normally do in those situations. And he's just been really, it's more of a pray, and seek me, and, have conversations, like, not do anything, just talk and listen, and and not give your telling somebody what to do. And that's another thing. As an oldest, a lot of time I try to tell people and to like I feel like people should listen to me because I have.
She does feel that way.
Like they should listen to me because I have very good wisdom, and I have very good points. Yes, and so I'm like, I think you should listen to me because I'm telling you what's right. But what God has really been showing me is that sometimes, even if you know what's right and you know what it should be, like you said, I'm not God, so they can't be listening to me because I become the voice for them to do or not do. But also at the same time, I'm not always right. And in the end, he knows what somebody else needs. And he knows where he wants us to take us. So I think that is like kind of where I am right now in that giving of myself. Like it's giving of myself, but also I think what was that's Dr. Anita said, like why you do things, like shame, guilt, and
I don't remember the last one.
It was something else, or fear. It was shame, guilt, or fear. Why you would do something is not necessarily out of you think it's because you need to do something, but it's really because you have a fear that of something bad happening if you don't do it. Guilt that if something did happen that you didn't go and tell them, and then shame that whatever. I don't know how you would feel shame, but shame. But it was a really good saying when she said it.
So yeah, it was really good. So we have Austin. I know Troy's messaging me. We've probably run over time. If you could leave the audience with one thing, because I know the last time we were like, where do you want to be? Where are you now? All those things. We recapped, and from where you were then, even just the growth that you've had since the last time we sat down and talked like this, what would be something that you would leave to the audience, to us, to anybody? Like, what's the thing that you would say if you were like, this is my one chance to get it out there?
I thought about that on the way over here. Because I was like, they're going to ask me. I remember some of the questions last year.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me think. Never have fear, because fear is weakness. If you start having fear, that means the devil's going to win. It's okay to have fear, but you need to lean more on God than that. So for me, I was really scared when I lost my grandmother and everything like that. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen, because I realized when a loved one dies, the worst comes out in all the families. So, I've noticed that for the first time. So I was really scared, and I started thinking to myself, I was like, that's really the devil coming onto me. And if you have fear, that means you're not fully trusting God. So whatever you're going through, whatever you're struggling with, addictions, anything like that, it's okay to have fear, but you need to have more of God in you to overtake that fear.
So that's what love casteth out all fear, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm gonna leave with is, if you're scared or anything like that, just rely more on God heavily to overtake that fear.
I think that's good. That's so true.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Austin, for being on.
Hey.
And we will see you all in the next one.
Peace.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Candid Convo.
Welcome to the show.
Candid Convo.
Welcome to the show.